welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to do a very quick and easy guide for exactly how you can create a Google Ads campaign from scratch. Today, we're going to be creating a simple search campaign with text ads that show up when people search for things on Google. So just to kick things off, I'm going to create a campaign without a goals guidance. In essence, this gives you full control. And then you're going to select your campaign type. We're creating a simple search campaign with text ads that show up for when people search, right? So we're going to create a search campaign. And then I've already selected a preliminary conversion goal here, but you'll be able to select from these. They don't matter all that much. So you can just select whatever for now. I just did page views because there's not conversion tracking on this specific Google Ads account. And I'm going to continue. So next, you can define the results that you want to get. I'm going to send people to my coaching landing page. So I'm going to select website visits and then just populate that in there right there. And then I'm going to add a name to my campaign. So I'm going to call this search campaign coaching, Google Ads coaching. Great. So now we're going to continue. And then I'm going to start new. I was just testing out the new user interface, so I had a couple of drafts. In terms of the bidding screen, we're going to focus on clicks. You can focus on conversions if you're just doing a refresher and you already have conversion data and conversion tracking in your account. But in my case, I'm assuming that this is a completely new account, no data. We're just trying to learn. We're going to focus on clicks. And I'm going to set a maximum cost per click bid limit of $3 because I don't want to spend more than $3 on any potential clicks from people searching for advertising coaching. And then we're going to say next. All right, now we have a few options here. I'm going to immediately uncheck Google Search Partners and Google Display Network. These are more advanced options and typically they're pretty inefficient. So I just don't like to include them in really any of my campaigns that I do for myself or for my clients or what I advise people for coaching wise. So next up, we have locations. This is where you would define your geo-targeting. In other words, the states, countries, zip codes, etc., that you want to serve your ads for. I'm going to select the United States because that's where I'm based. And under location options, I'm going to select presence. The difference between presence and presence or interest. Presence is going to show people that live in Chicago, and presence or interest could show people that live in Chicago, but it could also show people that are interested in the Chicago Bulls. So I want to focus on people in my target locations. And then for languages, my customers speak English, and that's the language I primarily speak. So I'm going to select English, but you can put any language here. In terms of audience segments, you guys should let me know in the comments if you want a dedicated video on this. I'm not going to go over audience segments here because they are a powerful tool, but they are very advanced to use correctly. And I don't want to go over that in this simple guide. In terms of the more settings, there's two things to focus on here. Well, really, there's three. Ad rotation, the only thing that you would change here is if you want to A/B test copy with 50% of your budget going to one type of copy and 50% going to another type. Otherwise, you should keep it on optimize. The other thing to focus on, the second thing, is start and end dates. I like to have my campaigns go live the next day after I start them. So I'm going to set my date to be tomorrow. And then the last thing to focus on is ad schedule. So some businesses where you have people calling you or filling in leads and you need to get back to them very quickly, you'll want to have an ad schedule that matches those working hours. In my case, I'm okay with people emailing me and I get back to them the next day, and most people are okay with that. So I'm going to have this set for all days. All right, next up, this populated some keywords and I'm going to delete them. We've got our first ad group. So let's first give this guy a name. I'm going to call it Google Ads Coaching. And then I'm actually going to copy that and enter that as a product or service to advertise to. And I'm going to then press Get Keyword Suggestions. And now Google has populated a few closely matched keywords here. And let's also talk about match types. So there's 3 match types, as you can see down here. We have this, which is a broad match type. And then if I do this and add quotations to it, it becomes a phrase match. Phrase match is slightly more broad, or slightly less broad, I should say. And then we have brackets around it, which makes it an exact match term. So at the end of the day, these represent different match types. Brackets around your keyword mean exact match. Quotations mean phrase match. And the broadest is going to have no sort of permutations around it. And typically in previous years, I would say don't ever use broad match unless you have a big budget. But Google's actually been improving the results of broad match pretty significantly this year. And there's much better cost per clicks on broad match. And if you're targeting a specific conversion action, you can actually get really competitive results just using broad match with smart bidding. So that's something that's changed this year that would, if you even look back at some of my older videos, I would say avoid broad match at all costs, right? But in this case, I actually recommend testing it and seeing how it works for you. So that's match types, and we're going to just be focusing on this very specific Google Ads coaching keyword. And we're going to then move on to making our first ad. So now that we can create our ad, we want to make sure that it really matches our ad group and the targeted keywords that we're focused on. So in my case, I'm targeting Google Ads coaching. And there's a few things that are in the advertising UI for creating your first ad that you want to be focused on. First up, you can see that I have my final URL already populated here. You may need to change this based on maybe you have a different URL. There's all sorts of things that you might want to change. You can also see that it's populated a few of the, really all of the keywords. If you have a lot of keywords here, you could see much more be populated here, or not all of your keywords be populated in this area. And then there's also the display path. So the display path is a pretty simple but very useful thing that a lot of people really overlook. And I recommend that you basically put a couple of keywords that you are targeting. So for me, I'm going to put Google-Ads and then coaching in the secondary display path. This won't actually change my URL, but it will, as you can see, customize how the ad is presented. Next up, we need to start thinking about my headline and my descriptions. So it's really important that you fill out all 15 headlines and all 4 descriptions. I know it's time consuming and tedious, but it's important to do this in order to achieve the best quality score, deliverability, and performance of your ads that's possible. In my headlines, I'm going to give a few value props that I think are important, as well as directly matching the keywords targeted. I'm going to do this and we'll come back so you don't have to wait for me to brainstorm these. All right, moving on, let's go make our first ad. So now that we can create our ad that matches against our ad group, it's important to consider the keywords that you're targeting. In my case, I'm targeting Google Ads coaching. If you don't have a very specific ad, you're going to end up paying a higher cost of advertising as opposed to other advertisers that are competing for the same exact keyword because you have a lower quality score. I have several videos on the topic of quality score that I encourage you to check out. But this video is not about that. But essentially, check out those videos so you can save your money and get better results from your Google advertising. Elsewhere in this UI, you're going to be able to see a few other things, such as your ad group name. You're going to be able to see your associated keywords in the headline section. And then you're also going to be able to see your ad strength recommendations. In my case, I've already filled out my ad, and we'll go through essentially what gives you an excellent ad strength and why that can be important. The long story short about ad strength is that it didn't matter for a very long time, but there's been new data that's come out in the last 3 to 6 months that suggests that having an excellent ad strength is something that Google's actually using to improve deliverability of your ads within the first few days. So first, verify that your final URL, which is oftentimes pulled from earlier in the onboarding process, is correct. So in my case, I don't actually want to send them to my ads management page. I want to actually send them to my coaching page, which is slightly different and it lives on a different domain. Another thing that you want to look at is the display path. And the display path is something that doesn't actually change your URL. It sits at the end of your URL, similar to a URL parameter, and something that you can basically customize to adjust the display of your advertising. So it's going to show up in your ad and it's going to have a / Google Ads or a / Google Ads coaching, right? For me, but this could be anything, right? This could be shoes, basketball, this could be chairs, outdoor, right? It could be anything that fits your business. So in my case, it's coaching, Google Ads. And then next up, let's look at our headlines and descriptions. You do need to fill out all 15 headlines and all 4 descriptions and have them have variants. Otherwise, you are not going to have an excellent ad strength. I know this is time consuming and it's tedious, but it's important to do in order to achieve the best quality score, deliverability, and performance of your ads that is possible. In my headlines, you'll see that I give a few value props I think are important, as well as directly matching the keywords targeted. In my descriptions, I have given people more incentive to click by saying more about my product and not being redundant against my headlines. With all of that considered, I've now written out all of my 15 headlines and all of my 4 descriptions, and I have achieved an excellent ad strength. Beyond having strong copywriting with the words that you're actually putting down, there are some advanced Google-only tactics that you can employ with writing your ad. So first up is dynamic insertion, specifically dynamic keyword insertion and dynamic location insertion. First, with dynamic keyword insertion, this is where it automatically updates your ads with the keywords that have caused your ads to show. So in a sense, if someone looks up Google Ads coaching or they look up a close variant of that that's more relevant for them, it'll dynamically insert that search into my ad. This can help relevance, and when you do it correctly, it'll really improve the relevance of your ad. But when, you'll see some funny instances, for example, if you look up flight to hell, a lot of these different airliners will actually show you flight to hell in their ad because they're customizing it against the location that you want to have as your destination, right? So there's some funny things that you can see once you know how these ads get customized that you could actually try out and have some fun with. But long story short, this helps out 90% of the time when you're using it correctly, and it can really help your relevance and your quality score go up. Next up, we have location insertion. So with location insertion, you can insert the user that is searching. You can insert their city, their state, their country, right? And then otherwise, you can just replace it with some default text. So this can be really helpful if you have a lot of local locations, or you have a business that can work in many different locations, and you just want to show the customer, the potential customer that is, that you can serve them despite what location they live in, right? People want to know that essentially that wherever they live isn't a disqualifier for them to receive a specific product or service. And then the last thing that you can do, which is pretty rare that people actually use, is actually a countdown insertion that allows you to essentially insert some countdown stuff for a specific sale, right? Right. So I could have a holiday sale that ends in, for example, 5 days. And I'll see if I can get it to show here, but it may not end up showing us, right? Looks like it's not going to, but long story short, you can insert a countdown timer that matches against a specific sale, or maybe it's end of season or anything that's relevant for your business. It can be helpful. Just make sure that you have a specific point. You're not just using it because Google is giving you the option to. And then next up, we have our ad extensions. So there's a few things that you'll want to add in here. This is a new Google Ads account, so I don't have access for advertiser verification to include my business name and logos, but you would essentially add your business name, you would add your logo. This is going to help your legitimacy. And just make sure that you have a high-res logo to use and your business name doesn't look really weird. I would just use a simplified version of your business name. So if your business name has, a bunch of other text at the end that could be confusing, I would just simplify it to something that people can recognize clearly, like Nike, Apple, right? A brand name essentially. And then there's a few other things that I would set up. And so essentially, ad extensions just increase the size of your ad on Google, and they help with your click-through rate. But if you use them without understanding them, they can actually hurt your conversion rate because you're sending people to all these different places that aren't conversion focused. So there's a few that I would just specifically focus on learning how to do and do them well. So the first one is going to be site links. And these are just essentially extra URLs that you can throw at the bottom of your ad. And you can beef them up with, you can beef them up with text, right? So I could say weekly coaching because I offer a package that offers weekly, essentially coaching every week. And then I could give more description, tailored coaching over Zoom, get customized guidance. And I could essentially add that, and you'll see it shows up at the bottom, and this is a clickable link. And so the big thing here that I've observed people make mistakes with around site links is that they add a lot of different things like reviews, different areas that they think is going to be really helpful. But at the end of the day, a click is going to cost you money. So if you're not sending people to the high relevant, highly, important conversion focused pages that are going to get that sale or get a lead or give you something incrementally valuable to your business, it's not going to be helpful. And it's going to reduce your efficiency. That's essentially what I've seen after looking at hundreds of accounts. So I just recommend being. Another thing that I would get really focused on is callouts. So you can essentially create different callout assets. These are text assets, not URLs, that show up at the bottom of your ads. So as you can see, I've added these here, and this just appends itself to my description section. And then another thing, depending on your business, is if you have open pricing, such as, I have very transparent pricing around my coaching packages and my management packages. So I can clearly display that. Other businesses, you have to actually see the project and give a more specific quote on it. So before you can offer pricing. So depending on that, you can customize your pricing asset types. You could obviously, again, include a promotion if you have a specific promotion or a promo code that people can act on from advertising. If you have a lead gen based business, you could do a call extension or a lead form extension. If you have a mobile app that you also care about mobile app downloads and that's valuable to you as a way to potentially divert people from actually your website, but you want to get a few more app downloads, you could do an app extension. And then structured snippets are another one that I would really recommend. So for pretty much everyone, I'm using structured snippets, I'm using callouts, I'm using site links because they really bolster the size of your ad. And you're going to see that pretty much industry wide. So a structured snippet is just a short burst of text. And so you could essentially break it down in terms of services, for example. So for me, I have a monthly coaching package, Google Ads coaching, Google Ads management, right? And I could add some more things. For example, if I wanted to in the future offer attribute, all that stuff, I could add it in here. But essentially, you can break out those structured snippets, and they'll just populate again at the bottom of your description section and be appended there. So it just adds more real estate, and you get more value for your money. And that's about it. So from here, you would essentially, anything that Google flags, you might get some exclamation points, right? And all you have to do is follow through and save your changes. And then you publish your campaign. It's going to check for errors one more time, and we'll be great. So as you can see, we are ready to publish. These yellow marks are just, they're not too important here. And then all you have to do is press publish campaign, and it will publish, and it is in your account, and you have your first campaign. We overshot it a little bit. It was probably about 20 minutes when this video is all said and done, but I just wanted to include some extra information, some extra sauce for you. And so I hope this video was helpful. If you need additional, tailored help with Google Ads, I recommend you check out my coaching. If you don't want to do it yourself and you're spending over $10,000 a month, get in touch with me. I'd love to do your management. And if you want additional videos on Google Ads here for free, and you're just trying to learn as best you can, and coaching or management's not an option for you, please let me know in the description or in the comment section below what else I can make for you, and anything else that's on your mind that you need help with. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, etc. And we'll see you in the next video.